All right, good morning and welcome to Contract Wednesday. Today we are covering all things finance. And now we're going to cover Form 22AC, which is the Loan Lender Change Addendum. So this is the addendum that is used to cover anything that could get you in trouble in paragraph 1 on Form 22A. So we're going to kind of switch back and forth between those two forms so that you make sure, or I make sure, that you understand them. But let's actually start with 22A, because what this all stems from is paragraph 1B. Remember, just to recap, in paragraph 1A we described the loan type that we're going to use, and in paragraph 1B we outlined how you could accidentally waive financing without realizing it. And the way you do that is 1, failing to make application within the requisite time frame. 2, changing lender without seller's prior written consent. Those are the operative words. Form 22AC is how you get prior written consent. So I said it earlier, but I'll just say it again to be safe. Your client can change lenders, they can change loan products, they just can't do it without the written permission from the seller, because as we mentioned earlier, the seller chose your offer in part due to the comfort they had with your financing. So anytime you want to change that stuff, you got to make sure you notify the seller.
Even if it's within the 5 days?
I'm going to go through it more slowly. I can change lenders as many times as I want in the 5 days. I can never change loan products without the prior written consent. So another way to say it is, if I want to change lenders after 5 days, I need prior written consent, or if I want to change loan products at any time, I need prior written consent. Can I be any more clear?
I guess my question was, if I change lenders within the 5 days, I know I can do it, but...
I just answered that. I'm going to answer it again. I can change lenders as many times as I want in the 5 days.
Without even notifying.
Don't need any prior written consent.
That was my question, not a big...
I know. I answered it now. 5 times. You're making my videos entertaining. And people are going to go, God, Ed's mean to that guy. Okay. So that's enough about that paragraph, right? So here's how you get prior written consent. Form 22AC. Let's just read it letter for letter. The financing addendum, Form 22A, requires buyer to secure seller's consent to change either the type of loan at any time or the lender after the agreed upon time to apply for financing expires. If buyer fails to do so, buyer waives the financing contingency. That's pretty clear. So now let's take Scott's buyer example and decide, are they changing lenders after 5 days, or are they changing loan products at any time? Well, depending on what they're changing, I would choose one paragraph or the other. Right? Could I choose both? Sure. If I change lenders and switch to FHA from conventional, then I need to check both. Right? None of these notices are going to go over to the other party without you calling them first. That would be a mistake. So you want to call and you want to prep them and you want to explain to them why they need not worry. This is actually a benefit to the seller. We can close better, faster, stronger, whatever. But we got to switch lenders. All right? The other thing, and I said this in the other video, is manage the timing. If the seller signs this on a particular date, make darn sure that your pre-approval lender or letter from the new lender doesn't predate the date that the seller signed this. So if the seller signs this on January 3rd and my pre-approval letter is January 2nd, I just proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that I changed loan products before getting written consent. And what was the operative word here? Prior written consent. So don't make that mistake. Coach your loan officer. Hey, I want to know, can they switch to FHA? Okay, great, but don't write up a pre-approval letter just yet. I got to get the seller's prior written consent, right? So seller consents to buyer changing the type of loan from conventional 10% down, the type of loan agreed upon in Form 22A. So this is going to mirror whatever you put on paragraph 1 up here, right? And now we're switching it to FHA 10% down. Buyer shall make application for this new loan within 3 days after receiving seller's consent. If buyer does not timely apply, buyer waives financing, blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't make light of that last sentence. It works the same way it works in paragraph 1B on Form 22A. If you agree to apply within a certain time frame and don't, you waive financing. Make sense? Same way down here. Buyer is changing lenders. So we're changing from RPM, because they couldn't do it, to Washington Federal Savings Bank, because they had a more creative, aggressive product, or whatever, right? And again, we're going to make application within a certain time frame. This is super easy, but very critical that you manage the timing because of the need to get prior written consent. So does a phone conversation count? No, because it's not written. Can I get it right after I get the new approval? Because then I don't want to tell them. I'm nervous about telling them until I have it approved. No, you got to tell them before. If your one last second, Robin. If your lender says, I can't tell you if we can get them to go FHA until it goes through underwriting, then tell them to underwrite it. But don't issue a pre-approval letter with a date earlier than January 4th, in my example. Manage that. Okay, Robin, what's your question?
So the seller has consented to change the lender.
Okay.
So now the buyer shall make application with this new lender within 3 days.
Yep.
So now, what documentation or how do we then get notice that that has been done? Did I miss something?
Yeah, that's the pre-approval letter. So if I'm the listing broker and my client signed this, I want to follow up and make sure that they've applied within the 3 days in this example. I want to follow up and make sure it's been reapproved. I mean, you guys are going to be staying very much on top of it, because now your deal's in jeopardy, right? They just changed lenders.
So then the date of that pre-approval letter then is going to be our notice then of the new one.
Right.
Is that right?
That's right. And if you're the listing broker, like Robin's onto something, right? If she's a listing broker and she pesters me for the pre-approval letter and I send it over and it's dated January 2nd, she's immediately going, woohoo, they waive financing. They probably don't even realize it. All right. Any other questions on 22AC? It's a pretty straightforward one, but like I said, it's very critical that you manage it properly.